Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Sarah from I Am Simple Natural Life. I am here, I've set up the channel to help you, to give you ideas, to guide you on ways that you can make changes in your life so it feels a bit more natural and authentic to you. And this week I want to talk to you about we're a no rules household. So I have 4 children and they are aged from 11 down to 7. And we don't have any rules at all. None. Actually, that's a lie. We have one. I'll tell you at the end what our one rule is, actually. Now, that's exciting. But yeah, we don't have any rules. So why is this? Ultimately, it's because children are people. And I think so much in our society is treating children like they're somehow different, that they are to be managed until suddenly at age 18, I guess like some kind of butterfly, they're just suddenly able to manage their emotions and their behavior and their choices, and they just magically go fly on their way. But the reality is it doesn't work like that. You know, we're all learning all the time, whether you're 4 or 40 or 80, you're still learning. And you don't get everything right. So that is where in our household, we come at it from that angle. And we're all about, I don't know if you've heard of, there's conscious parenting, respectful parenting, there's gentle parenting. I don't like that word so much, but it kind of all describes the same kind of stuff. We home educate 3 out of 4 of our children. The eldest is severely disabled and she goes to a special school. The other 3 are home educated. So just throwing that out there in case that's relevant in terms of how you take the following bits of stuff that I'm going to talk about. So when I say no rules, I really mean no rules. But that doesn't mean that our house is chaotic. It doesn't mean that the children are rude. It doesn't mean that we're lazy. It's actually a very challenging way to parent or to live, because you will come up against your own kind of preconceived ideas and your own conditioning and your own challenges. So I will come on to that in a bit more detail, but let me talk you through a bit about how having no rules works in practice. So we don't do any forced eating. So there is no, you must eat that broccoli. I'm sorry, I am not going to lose sleep about a broccoli, okay? And this is coming from my position of one of my children. She actually has high functioning autism and she has a limited diet. And she finds new foods quite difficult and new textures difficult and smells. And it's kind of like all her senses are heightened, and that makes some food really difficult for her to eat. And at no point have we ever forced her or even actively encouraged her to eat the food. And that goes for the same with all my children. So we didn't do any of the, come on, if you have just one more spoon of your lasagna, and then you can have pudding, because that just brings some really, well, it's bringing in really bad eating habits more than anything. So you're setting up the pudding as a treat, like, come on, eat this rubbish, and then you can have this lovely, delicious trifle or whatever it is. And then that's actually just making it kind of like even more so in the child's brain of, oh, this food's yuck. And this is the good stuff. And I don't want to do that. You know, I see enough people with eating disorders and whatever, so it was really important to me just to not kind of continue that story that so many of us have been given. And so the way we do food is to make our meal. We eat our dinner every day together. We eat other meals together as well, but definitely dinner time is all together at the table. We have the food in the middle and people just help themselves. And that does mean that your child might only choose the nuggets or I don't know, whatever's on the table. They might just choose one of those items, just the roast potatoes. And that's okay. And it might not feel okay. Inside, and this is where I say it is not lazy parenting, you actually may feel challenged inside and thinking, oh God, my job as a parent should be making you eat this stuff. But that is not your job as a parent. Your job as a parent is to educate your children around food. And so they understand what is good for them, what their body needs, and also to listen to their bodies. And that's a really important one. You know, I don't know if people do it so much nowadays, but the you must finish everything on your plate approach means that you're training children not to listen to themselves. You're taking away their autonomy and their natural sensations to learn from their own cues of when they are full up. And you know, who are you to say if they're hungry or not? Okay, and I know it is really challenging because they may come back 20 minutes later and then say, oh, I'm really hungry. But then it's about having those conversations. And so it's a constant dialogue about listening to the cues in your body, thinking about, you know, if you eat certain foods, do you then feel a bit rubbish afterwards? I know, like, especially recently, if I eat crisps, and it's a shame because I love crisps. But I will then feel really sluggish afterwards. And so I've noticed that. And now I eat less crisps because that's, you know, I've noticed it. And so your child may need you to kind of suggest it, point it out, say, have you noticed this? Things like that. But we don't restrict the food. So yes, they can open the cupboard and get what the heck they like out of the cupboard. I guess you could then restrict what you're putting in it if you feel very uncomfortable over this. But again, we've never restricted crisps or chocolate, sweets, all that kind of stuff. We have those sort of items in our house where I would love to be like whole food plant-based. I'm not there. So, you know, we do have access to the kind of the crappy stuff as well as all the good stuff. But we also don't dress it up to them in terms of the crappy stuff and the good stuff. You know, they know that sweets aren't going to do a great deal for them. And it even makes brushing your teeth even more important. But, you know, we've got the fruit there. We've got everything there. So they can help themselves. They also understand then at meal times that, you know, this is your stuff. This is what you choose from. But it's there and they see us eat it. So... And then my children, they'll really surprise me. So my one that's got the limited kind of diet, she will then just surprise me by picking up a bit of broccoli and just looking at it and think, oh, I'm just going to give this a try. And then I have to sit there and, because you also don't do praise for it, you know, say, well done for trying that broccoli. Try and think of it in terms of how you would want to be treated, and would you feel comfortable if somebody else was saying these things to you? Or would you feel like they were treating you like a bit of an idiot? Because children aren't stupid, okay? And if it would make you feel like an idiot for somebody saying, well done, Sarah, for trying that broccoli. Oh, you're such a big girl. Just don't do it, okay? So, no limits around food. I've got a little list here. No bedtimes. No bedtimes. So... We used to do the, you know, because this is what good parents do. It's 7 o'clock, it's time for bed, go up, do the story and all that jiggery pokery, and then spend the next hour or more, keep putting them back to bed and all that kind of stuff, until I just thought, what am I doing? And why am I spending my evening? I was desperately trying to get them into bed so I could just have some time. And then I started reading a bit more about kind of autonomous bedtimes, and I struggled with it for a while. I just thought, oh, I'm going to get no time to myself. And then we just went for it. And it was the best thing, honestly. And it actually gave me more time. Isn't that ironic? So bedtimes are just when you're tired. And so we talk a lot about, again, body autonomy and noticing your sleep cues and helping yourself with those sleep cues. So things that help make us sleepy might be reading or doing some quiet colouring or whatever. And we'll, after dinner time, we eat our main meal in the evening, we would generally start to wind down the household kind of thing. So, you know, you might change the lighting a little bit. We all get changed into sort of our sleepy stuff, might go and watch TV together, might just all do our own thing, you know, read or do the colouring or play a quiet game. They just know, and we've done this from when they were really young. My youngest, I don't know, maybe she was 3, not sure, 2 or 3. It's, what was I going to say? We did it from 2 or 3, and they just knew that whatever activity that they were going to choose to do, it had to be stuff that I didn't need to be involved in. So I am not getting out the paints, anything like that. Anything that's going to take lots of clearing up for me, that is not the time for it. That happens earlier in the day, okay? And this is just about quiet activities that people can entertain themselves with, or we sit together and watch something nice on the telly. But when people are tired, then they just say that they want to go to bed, and then I'll go up and do a story with them, or we might kind of all go and do the story together, and people are free to go to bed when they want, and that could be after me, which isn't difficult actually, because I go to bed really quite early. 9 o'clock would be lovely. It's later than that now, but you know, by 10. So it could be very often actually one of my children, she goes to bed after I do, and that's okay because her sleep cues are different. And in fact, that child, we used to have melatonin prescribed to her because she really struggled to go to bed. And what stopped it was we went to France for a holiday. We went for quite a long time, and because it was hot, we were naturally going to bed later, and we noticed that she didn't need the melatonin because we were going to bed later and she was more tired. And it took that for me to realise she doesn't need medication. Her body clock is just different, and we need to recognise that and to embrace that. And so we just let her notice her sleep cues and go to bed when she wants, and that now is a bit later than I do, and that's completely fine, and that's what works for her. So that is the beauty of no rules, because otherwise she would still be on that medication and I'd still be battling with her to get in that bed. We have no limits on screens, and this is a biggie for parents, and I'm not here trying to persuade you with any of this stuff, by the way. You've got to do what feels right to you, and it is challenging, and you will be doing things that other parents aren't doing, and that is hard. So you've got to feel really comfortable with it. The reason we don't do screen limits, when I say no screen time, is that what I said? I mean, we have no limits around screens. So they each have their own tablet, we have TV, you know, usual kind of stuff, and they can use it as much as they want. And I know that's really challenging for people, but the reason I do this, or we do this, is because for me it's like the forbidden fruit. Where I see children that are very limited on what they're allowed, so perhaps they really, you know, maybe they get half an hour a day or what, you know, whatever. They then need that half an hour. They demand that half an hour because they know that's all they're gonna get, okay? And they're thinking about it, and then when it finishes, that's upsetting. Hang on, Alice. I'll come in a sec. I'm just recording this.
Oops, sorry to disturb you.
That's okay.
Now we're gonna not go violent.
No, just hurry up, darling, because I've got to finish. Alice, please. So, and then they're thinking about it all the time. Think of it, if you tell yourself that you're not going to eat chocolate, Okay, if maybe you've done one of these, you know, you've gone on a diet and you think, I'm not going to eat chocolate, and then all you can think about is eating that chocolate. That's exactly how it works with the screen time, in my opinion. So with my children, they know it's there if they want it, and some days they will use it a lot, and other days they don't even think about it, and they self-regulate. And that's what I want for them. I want them to have the ability to self-regulate, and if I was limiting what they were allowed to do, they've got no opportunity to self-regulate. They can't overuse it and then notice that they feel really rubbish and think, next time I'm going to take a break or whatever, you know. And you might scoff and just think, well, that's all right for you, Sarah, your children must be different to mine, because mine, I know mine would be on it all day. And maybe if you've limited them, then for a while, yes, they probably would, because they will just binge on it because they're worried that you're going to take it away again. And so if you wanted to try having no limits, you do need to go through that icky period where you feel very uncomfortable that they are using it far too much and that their brain is going to go all mushy. And then just when you get to the point where you think, I can't do this anymore, I don't think I can do this, that's when they're actually, it's just like magic. You get to the point where you think, oh, what shall I do? And then they'll be out on the trampoline or on their bikes, and you'll just think, oh, they're actually self-regulating. So that's my top tip for that. But you got to do what feels right for you, and it is hard because there's lots of other people around that aren't doing that. So, and no forced apologies. So if somebody, I don't know, kicks the other one in the head, as brothers and sisters and all that kind of stuff might do, I'm not demanding that they make an apology. I will talk to them about it and let them come to their own conclusions of how they want to deal with it. There is nothing more useless in the world than somebody being forced to say sorry. You know, like, I can remember, you know, like my sister was saying, sorry. Well, that didn't make me feel any better. What a waste of time that was, you know? So you don't need to force apologies. You can say that you are sorry for the situation, if that makes you feel better. But I don't go forcing them to apologise. I would like them to. I might even say, you know, when we're talking about what could you do, that could be a suggestion that I could put forward. Say, you know, you could do this, but I'm not going to force it because it means nothing if it doesn't come from them. And the same, like sharing toys, all that kind of stuff, especially when they were younger, you know, share, because you can encourage sharing and you can model sharing, but the sharing has to come from them. So I feel there's more that I need to say, but I feel I'm going on too much. So it's about respect, and respect goes both ways. And so instead of having just the rules and the punishments, we scrap rules and punishments, and we have conversations and boundaries and lots of that kind of stuff. It isn't, as I've said, it is not lazy parenting. I don't just let anything happen. I'm not going to let one of them just sit there and kick the other one in the head. We do understand the difference between right and wrong. I'm not going to go and let them jump all over somebody else's sofas if that's not okay. You know, if it's a non-sofa jumping household, they certainly have boundaries and ideas of what's acceptable and not, and they are polite children. But we have established that by giving them the respect, and they're not doing it because they're going to get in trouble, which I just feel just makes them more devious. Where I see children, especially ones that are like really strictly disciplined, it just encourages that side to hide things, to still do it, but to hide it, just because you're going to, you know, get really in trouble. So anyway, that's it. And I did say at the beginning that I do have one rule in our household, and it's an important one. Our only rule in our household is if somebody says stop, you have to stop. And that is all about recognizing other people's sort of autonomy over their own bodies. And if somebody isn't happy with something that's happening and they say stop, then you have to respect that and you have to stop. And that should be, I think, the number one rule in every house. Anyway, so that's me. I hope that helps. I hope it's given you something to think about. I know it's a little bit different to what a lot of people do, but it works really well for us. And I hope it's maybe inspired you to think about more natural ways that you could be with your children. So I'll see you soon. Bye.